And we're off.
You're on about what shape the Earth is, one thing we all seem to be able to agree on is
Okay, first of all, guy, dog hair on the shirt. I like the shirt. Nice idea here. I'm not sure why you have two globes on your desk. Maybe go with the one globe. I like the small one here. But, the big cartoony globe, um, yeah, I'm not sure what's up with that. And maybe get rid of this stuff too. I can't really talk because my set looks terrible. I'm working on my set, but at least I don't have hair on my shirt. I have a little bit of vodka on my shirt, which is way cooler. But a beautiful dog. I love this dog. And I like your shirt, man. I like this flat Earth clock shirt. Kind of badass. No, he's got the AE map. He's got the UN map on here. So, we got elongated Australia, which for all we know is the real Australia. Because let's be honest, none of us know jack about real cartography anymore.
that surveying works. I don't mean the people
Cute
who
dog.
stand in the street with a clipboard asking you 95 different questions about your latest bowel movement. I'm talking about surveying using equipment such as theodolites to survey an area of land and get accurate measurements, which can then be used in things
What?
like engineering projects. Now, if engineering surveying
What does
wasn't
that mean?
accurate, then big engineering projects would quickly go very wrong. And in a recent video, I'd shown an excerpt from a surveying training website called LearnCST, which was run by the National Society of Professional Surveyors
Okay. Looks good. That looks like Google Earth.
in America. And the webpage in question was called Curvature Definitions for Land Surveyors. And the
Whoa. 8 centimeters at 1 kilometer? That's a lot of curvature. So, wow, bro, you're not off to the best start here because you're saying there got to be 8 centimeters for a kilometer? That's a lot, man. Values given combine curvature of the Earth and refraction. What the heck? Under normal conditions, refraction compensates for the curve of the Earth? That is crazy. I do not agree with that.
last definition on that page was explaining how land surveyors include 6 centimetres of correction per 1 kilometre of measured distance to account for the curvature of the Earth.
In normal conditions, so that always changes because the conditions are different every day? I mean, what are you talking about here, buddy?
Obviously, that is something they wouldn't have to do if the Earth was flat. And in the video,
But that's just a definition. They didn't say that they always do that.
I also included a demonstration that someone had done using a theodolite across a lake to show that the lake itself follows the
Okay, that's pretty cool.
curve
I'm
of
listening.
Earth. I even had a professional
Still totally okay with the idea that the Earth could be a globe, but I'm not sold.
surveyor comment on that video to confirm that they do correct for Earth curve.
Wow, okay, so we're just gonna bring up this huge comment here. Thank you for bringing us surveyors. We handle aircraft runways between a few thousand meters and exceed 2,000 meters. In doing so, we account for the curve of the Earth since the accuracy required for a flat runway is so phenomenally precise. What? Why would that matter? So if the runway's perfectly flat, it won't work? I mean, what? The runway's off? Yeah, I don't think that makes much sense. And why is a surveyor on YouTube? Aren't you busy? Furthermore, the GPS tech that we use to give sub-centimeter accuracy to our benchmarks does not exist without a round planet. Round. Not spherical, round. They love that word round. We're certified and licensed professionals on the subject. Okay, that doesn't really mean much. There's plenty of certified and licensed bad professionals. Whereas these individuals have no experience in the field. How do you know that? What individual are you talking about? I mean, there could very well be. They would be laughed out of any classroom. Exists not only mathematically, but in practical. All right, so he really kind of backtrack here and goes, oh, well, we're professionals and we do that because we would have been laughed out of the classroom if we questioned this. So laughing us out of the class, not us, but laughing a flat earther out of the classroom is he's really, really appealing to that emotional kind of, we'll make fun of you because it exists mathematically, but in applications in the field. So this application, I mean, your runway is going to be perfectly fine either way. That's just crazy. That's like saying a plane is like a car. It's got tires like a car. So a centimeter, 3,000 meters, that's what, 3 kilometers? So he's saying 18 centimeters is going to, that's going to break the plane over a 3 kilometer distance. I don't see any relevance to this at all. So we're going to get laughed out of the classroom if we question this. Yet we insult everyone else. I'm not insulting you. I'm just going over this and neutrally. I don't really care either way. They hold to a cult belief. I think you're the cult belief guy here. It's your faith that you're putting in the centimeters, and it's going to be fine either way. So flat earthers are twisting actual formulas and math into a nightmare of make-believe calculations and broadly belittle info from subject matter experts who use it every day in our jobs. So you use this every day in your job? I don't really believe that you make fun of us every day or use that every day. In fact, I think you're quite scared of this because I don't see much proof here, just the fact that we put it in our formula to make our runway, and if we didn't, it wouldn't work. Well, did you try not putting it in? I think you'd be fine if you didn't, to be honest.
Despite all of that, though, there are still flat earthers that say surveyors don't correct for Earth curvature.
Yeah, so these comments are pretty bad, I will admit. That's a great comment, though. Explain how a globe Earth with a circumference of 25,000 miles can have a line of sight photos of 275, 600, and 700 miles. So I agree with that. That's a real thing. Why can we see that far? Kind of baffles me. Land leveling, telecom, military aircraft and weapon systems, Earth curve is never considered. Yeah, and this comes up in my own thinking a lot because you look at something like the SR-71 Blackbird, the American spy plane from the 60s, and it travels at Mach 5, I believe, which is what, like 600 miles an hour or something like that. So you got this airplane that travels so fast, faster than the speed of sound. And we don't ever hear of, and we have to account for the curve with that plane. I mean, it just wouldn't make any sense. It would be a nightmare. You'd have to, fly around in a curved trajectory everywhere.
And that water is flat and level, etc., etc.
So are you going to deny that water's flat and level? It definitely is.
Now, after that video, I actually had the head of a large surveying firm reach out to me privately to show me some more surveying material that they had that related to debunking flat Earth. And it comes from a book called Surveying for Engineers.
It comes from a book. Okay.
So I went and bought.
I mean, we can play with books all day, man. We can play with the Bible. We can play with flat Earth books. It's not really very
myself a copy. Nearly 600 pages.
It's a textbook. I mean, textbooks of all kinds of things from school that nobody uses.
Pages long, and it is almost as brilliant for learning as Brilliant.org. Brilliant has hundreds of classes covering topics across maths, science, and computing. I've been using it to earn the most experience points for a given week. Will advance onto the next league. I'm currently sent off an engineering, which is about 600 pages that looks at, well, I'll just quote the back of the book.
We're
The
just gonna
text covers
skim it.
engineering surveying up to the end of most second-year degree courses in civil engineering, building and construction, and is suitable for BTEC courses from level 3. It's written by John Urin and Bill Price. Now, John Urin is a senior lecturer and currently deputy head in the Department of Civil Engineering at the University of Leeds, where he also obtained his PhD in civil engineering. Bill Price is a principal lecturer in the Department of Civil Engineering at the University of Brighton. He obtained his MSc in land surveying from University College London with engineering.
Very
It was
impressive.
first published back in 1978, with a second edition then following in 1985. This is the third edition that was published in 1994. It was followed by the fourth edition in 2006, and then lastly a...
So I'm open to this. I mean, okay, so maybe the Earth's a globe. Maybe it just looks really flat because of refraction. And flat earthers are stupid, and I'm stupid for even considering it. That's totally on the table. But I'm not sold because why all the debunking effort here? Why you got to put globes up here? You got to have a flat earth shirt here. You're reaching out to professional. Why are you reaching out to professionals to have books to debunk this? Like, dude, I mean, it's just like
fifth
crazy.
Edition in 2010. Each new edition is
going to a little too much length here, it seems, for not much good proof. I haven't really seen anything that great. Some guy had a theodolite on a lake, but who knows who that guy is? I mean, maybe he just really wants to be right, so he has a theodolite, and he's out there at the lake and making the reading tell us what he wants it to tell us. Because I could go out with a theodolite and make a video and say, well, I use the theodolite and it looks flat. I mean, just something you got to do yourself, right?
Intended as an update to keep up with new equipment and new practices. And it covers everything from understanding how to set up the equipment, how to use it, how to interpret the data, and so much more. Essentially, this is a book written by surveyors for the purpose of training new surveyors. It's not called How to Lie About the Shape of the Earth, and it contains several sections that are rather damning to flat earthers. And it's been in
awesome. Can't wait to see it.
Circulation for 45 years. So let's jump straight into Chapter 2, Leveling. Section 2.1, Level and Horizontal Lines. Now, flat earth...
Whoa. Horizontal line is one which is normal to the direction of gravity. The vertical. What? That's a really wordy definition for a horizontal line. Because the Earth is curved, level lines are also curved. Measurements should be taken from curved level lines. Okay.
Section 2.1, Level and Horizontal Lines. Now, flat earthers will say that level means flat and that water finds its own level, so therefore water and subsequently the Earth is flat. Now, quote,
Well, what's crazy is that I've been observing lakes and oceans and ships sailing thereupon, however you say it. And the ships always, in my experience, don't dip under the curve. They just don't.
Term level line...
So it's crazy to me that this could be true and what I said could be true. It's just very confusing.
And horizontal line are used frequently in leveling and need to be carefully defined. A level line or surface is defined as a line along which all points curved line is one figure 2.2. Horizontal lines or surface. So what this means point, and because the Earth is curved...
So what the hell is this thing? I mean, really, we're not surveyors. We don't get what this is.
And the vertical lines of two different locations won't be perfectly parallel to each other. And so the horizontal lines won't perfectly align with each other either. This is the basis of the theodolite demonstration, which I'd included in my other video. Put a theodolite and a target on either side of a lake and set them to the same height above the water line. If the lake is flat, then the horizontal measurement of the theodolite would mean it was pointing straight at the target. If the lake is curved, the target would sit below horizontal, which is what happens. A level line, by comparison, is judged as a line of which is equal height above mean sea level, And because the Earth isn't flat, then a level line doesn't match a horizontal line. The book then does
Okay, I'm
expand on this
following.
further and highlights that, quote, for most survey work, the difference between a horizontal line and level line, called curvature, is small enough to be ignored and
Whoa, 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 whoa. So for most surveying, the Earth is flat.
can be assumed that level and horizontal lines are the same. Now, before flat earthers rejoice and think then that they must be the same, let's get into section 2.17, which it highlights. This is errors in leveling, specifically the effects of curvature and refraction on leveling.
Okay.
So it talks about the calculations for correcting for curvature and then highlights that the deviation between horizontal and level is very small at distances under 120 meters, which is usually the sort of maximum distance that they would have between points used for leveling.
Why? I thought we just went over a comment saying there's 3,000-meter projects.
But that curvature and refraction can't be ignored when calculating heights using theodolites as per section 3.11, which is height measurements by the theodolites, also known as trigonometrical heighting. This goes into explaining how you can measure the elevation angle above a horizontal line with a theodolite and then work out the height of an object. A process similar to a demonstration I'd done in response to a certain flat earther who has subsequently since then tried twisting it and repeatedly claiming that I've proven the Earth is flat because apparently you can't measure angles from a curved surface. Well, these 2 pages completely debunk that notion, showing how surveyors measure angles based off a horizontal line from their position, but then correct for the fact that their horizontal position is not the same as the horizontal position for the target's location, by including some fancy looking maths to correct for the amount of earth curve between the 2 locations. As stated here,
This is very fancy. This is very fancy and messy, in my opinion. This is a messy diagram.
Fg equals d squared divided by 2r, where r is the average radius of the Earth between points A and B. Confirming that we can measure average radius.
Okay, well, let's see what's going on here. Okay, so I get this. So sea level. So this curve and then the height, the curve up here higher would be a little different. It's a little less curvy. Okay, I get that. And so we got to put that into account. Isn't refraction going to be different higher up though, with less air pressure and less density? So refraction's a coefficient, so it's always the same, I guess. Okay. I mean, that does kind of make sense. Like water and glass kind of always refracts light the same way. So I guess the air, the atmosphere on the Earth kind of always does the same stuff. So, okay, I mean, what exactly is this though? What are we looking at? A mountain here? We're looking at the height of a mountain? I don't really see what's going on.
Of the Earth between points A and B. Confirming that we can measure angles on a curved surface because if you know the radius of that curved surface, you can correct for it. And before any flat earthers claim that they're presupposing the R value, the very fact that using that particular R value produces consistently accurate results in any application it's used in validates that that value is correct. If we tried using an R value of 3,000 or 10,000 kilometers instead, the results that we got would become more and more inaccurate as distances increased. They apply more corrections based on Earth's radius as well. Section 5.23 looks at scale factor. This actually ties in rather nicely to another video I did recently about flat maps not being accurate. It states, as outlined in section 1.5, all Ordnance Survey maps and plans in Great Britain are based on a rectangular coordinate system
isn't this
known
all
as
just
the
theoretical? God, I can't pause it. So this is all great. I mean, this is very impressive math. Makes a lot of sense for this model. Very cool. National grid is derived from a map projection. That seems sketchy. All ordnance survey maps and plans are on the system. So, what? I mean, that's weird.
National Grid. For anyone unfamiliar, Ordnance Survey is the national mapping agency of the UK. First founded back in 1791, and through the 1800s it began surveying the entire United Kingdom.
Now that's interesting because think about this, guys. The British Empire was really the authority when it comes to science and when it comes to the age of discovery and the age of exploration. It was British ships that really, charted the Americas back during those times. So really, the British are responsible for a lot of this stuff.
Kingdom in detail to produce Ordnance Survey maps. Even having Parliament in 1841 introduced the Ordnance Survey Act to allow surveyors the right to enter properties for the purpose of surveying the land within them. Nowadays, they sell these maps that cover the entirety of the United Kingdom in various scales, right the way down to 1 to 2,500. And they've divided the UK into two lettered grid squares that are 500 kilometres by 500 kilometres to give area codes for their maps.
Okay, so that's all flat. Now that's interesting.
Which they call the National Grid. And Surveying for Engineers states that the National Grid is derived from a map projection, which is a transverse Mercator projection with an origin of 2 degrees west and 49 degrees north. A map projection provides a means of representing the curved surfaces of the Earth on a plane surface that coordinate grids that can then be defined and maps drawn.
So they're not, why do all this then? What's the point of even doing this if it's not accurate?
So what this means is that because the regular Mercator map of the world centres around the equator, the UK is quite high up and so rather stretched out top to bottom. As the National Grid is only focusing on the UK, they've used a Mercator view of the UK but based it around a much higher latitude to reduce the amount of distortion. Quote, informing the National Grid, the relative positions of points on the grid are altered slightly from their ground positions as a result of using the transverse Mercator projection to account for the curvature of the Earth. Therefore, distances calculated from the National Grid coordinates will not, in some cases, agree with the equivalent measured on site. This means, despite them using a Mercator focused on the UK to reduce the distortion, it doesn't completely remove the distortion, which can then be a problem for things like surveying, where accuracy is paramount. To convert measured distances to projection distances, the measured distance is converted to its equivalent at mean sea level, and the scale factor used as follows. Grid distance equals measured distance times scale factor. Now that formula is pretty basic. If you have a scaled down version of something, like a model, you can measure the size of the model, multiply it by the scale of the model, and work out how big the original thing actually is. However, crucially, the book states, quote, the value of the scale factor varies across the country. Now, if the Earth were flat and the map is flat, then the whole map would be a uniform scale. The fact that the flat map has a varying scale across it proves that that map is distorted because it's trying to use a flat plane to display a different shape. They then show how surveyors can calculate an accurate scale factor for their location, the formula of which, again, uses an Earth radius value. We know surveying is incredibly accurate, because if it wasn't, then huge engineering projects wouldn't work. And yet, surveyors are trained to account for curvature of the Earth. If the Earth were flat...
Sometimes. They basically said mostly we treat it like it's flat.
And correcting for curvature that didn't exist would completely screw up their data. And yet, OS maps are some of the most accurate maps around, even though they say they're not 100% accurate. I actually managed to find an online PDF version of the latest 5th edition of this book.
This is
and being
very
PDF, it allows you to search for
it.
specific words. The words curvature or curve appear almost 1,400 times throughout the book. 3 times specifically stating the phrase Earth curvature, and once stating Earth is curved. The word flat appears 30 times throughout the entire book. The words flat Earth or Earth is flat appear precisely 0. I mean, it states the word globe more times than that. So, publicly available training material for surveyors shows that they're taught to account for Earth curvature, and we all know how incredibly accurate surveying is, which either
But we don't all know that because we're not all surveyors.
means that the real world that these people are surveying conforms to their processes of correcting for Earth curvature, or surveyors are all part of the conspiracy, and
Yeah, could be.
when you become a surveyor, they let you in on the plot and tell you to ignore everything that you've been taught.
That's very
Maybe some
possible.
flat earthers should take a course in surveying and see how that pans out. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for today.
Yeah, I
I
would
must
like
say
to,
thanks
actually.
to the professional surveyors who reached out
I'm
to
not a
me
flat
about
earther
this
anymore.
stuff, and thanks again to
I'm a
Brilliant.org
neutral
for
skeptic.
sponsoring this video. If you've enjoyed this and you haven't already done so, then please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video.
So there you have it. Really good video by this guy here. Dave McKeegan. Thank you, Dave McKeegan. We love your video. That was excellent. And I'm changing my mind about a lot of this stuff. I mean, if the surveyors really are out there using the refraction and Earth curvature, then that's really something. The problem is, he said it himself that they're using the Earth curvature and then reducing it because of refraction. So to me, it's a bit convenient to say, oh, the Earth's curved, but not as much as mathematically because of refraction. It's a little bit suspect to me. That didn't work. Anyway, really interesting video. Flat Earth really is an annoying thing, and I'm no longer a flat earther. I am now a unbiased, no side chosen researcher, and I would like to be a surveyor. So it's really interesting. Really excellent video he's put out there. I wish, and that's another thing, is that he's clearly capable of editing this video and making a very nice video. There was the thing about him having like dog hair on his shirt and a bit of a wacky set there. I know my set's not perfect. I got freaking wires under my entertainment unit there. But I've got a nice clean atmosphere here, a nice clean environment. I am vaping, whatever, but it's just organic vape. So that's pretty much it. I'm neutral, I don't have much on my notes here. Like, really kind of not picking a side, I think we need to really take a hard look at this and look at it from the not even the mathematical, but the pragmatic, practical application, as he said. And I'm very interested in this application. So he did add some comments there from YouTube where, let's write down FE Pro comment, which is, why can we see so far? So the surveyors are right, and they're using the curvature formulas and the refraction formulas. However, why can we see so far? And how come a lot of the globe proponent arguments use very simplistic arguments like, oh, the ship disappears? And you'll see a lot of photographs too online of people showing, oh, the hull of the ship is beneath the curve and the mast is still above the curve. In my opinion, these photos are faked. They're using sneaky methods like putting the camera real low down to the water, catching a wave so that it looks like curvature. I'm a photographer, and I have a really nice 4.5-inch refractor telescope that you can put a diagonal in and make it a terrestrial telescope. And I've seen observations that look really not very curved, in my opinion. Now, the skylines are cut off, but this is, in my opinion, what I would expect to see on a flat, plain Earth, because you're not going to see over 60 miles. You're not going to see little people walking around on the sidewalk of this city. You're going to see a very, very faded, distorted image of the city at that distance, regardless of curvature. So, in my opinion, yeah, the buildings are cut off a bit because the angle to those buildings, the bottom of those buildings, the angle is so minute to your eye that it's almost impossible to see that. It is impossible, in my opinion. And that's why it's frustrating to me to hear globe Earth proponents talk about how, why can't we see Cuba from Key West? Why can't we see London from New York City? And it's like, if the Earth were flat, you would not be able to see London from New York. There's haze. There's the angle diminishing and diminishing and then just vanishing. The angle meaning the size of the object in your vision, your field of view, gets smaller and smaller and smaller over distance into an infinitesimally small point. Therefore, you cannot see it anymore over 1,000 miles. So it's frustrating to me to hear the globe Earth proponents bring up such bad arguments. Now, what's the reason for that? If the surveyors are doing what they say, do we believe these surveyors? Are they being truthful? Are they really surveying in the manner that they say? Because, as he pointed out, I could become a surveyor, take some courses, and work on small-scale projects in which the curvature of the Earth is not taken into account, even though I have been taught that at large scales I will be doing that. But I could work on projects for 10 years and never encounter a project that's 1,000 kilometers in which I would have to use 8 centimeters of curvature. So that's very interesting, and I think we should just really think about how amazing this topic is and how amazing everything about this is. And it's just hard to talk about because I think people on both sides of this discussion think they can't even go there. If they even go there, they're considered absolutely stupid. And maybe I am. Maybe I am absolutely stupid for even considering this. However, the reason I do consider this is because at the university level, taking my astronomy courses, I thought to myself, well, isn't it perfectly feasible that the lighting I see in the sky, in the night sky, in the sun or whatever, these lights and these apparent celestial bodies in the heavens, perfectly feasible that I could be witnessing what I'm witnessing on a flat plane, regardless of the mappings and the calculations of, oh, it comes around and even if it was going around in a circular manner and coming up and coming back around the sun, for example, even if it was, is that not possible to witness on a flat plane? Because in my opinion, it is. So that's about it. Thought it was a great video and really appreciate that nice gentleman's work. I hope to make videos speaking in a similarly proficient manner. My live streams are so jambled up and unorganized and crappy, and for this I do apologize, and we will see you later.